I'm Shane.
I'm Bo.
We are your Kentucky Fried Critics.
Welcome back for another episode, everybody.
We're still in the middle of our October celebration here.
Spoop Fest.
That's right, guys. Before we get started, go ahead and get our social media stuff knocked out of the way. That way we don't gotta talk
pause
about
for the
it
cause.
anymore. First off, we're just gonna list the easy ones. So like we always say, that's Instagram and Facebook. Both of those are gonna be at Kentucky Fried Critics.
Yep.
For Facebook, that does mean the URL is just gonna be facebook.com/Kentucky Fried Critics. For Instagram, I don't even know how URLs work for Instagram, but if you're looking for us, we're at Kentucky Fried Critics.
I don't think anybody actually types URLs in anymore.
I don't either, but again, when they're easy, I'll go ahead and say them out loud. That makes it super simple. YouTube, like we always let you guys know, if you search for us, Kentucky Fried Critics, you'll find us. We are the active people using that name. There is another group that have that. They've had it longer than us. They don't use the account. We're waiting for it to get shut down.
Are there even any videos on there?
Maybe one or two. Again, but these are like from 12 years ago, and they were children.
I was just saying this was some middle schooler. It's like, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel, and then just lost interest.
We're just waiting for it to get shut down. But until then, at YouTube, you're gonna find us at KF Critics.
I will accept this.
That's just what we got. Then the next one, if you want to go to our actual podcast site that's hosted by Acast, are the ones that are graciously allowing this podcast to be put out there. That's going to be shows.acast.com/Kentucky-Fried-Critics.
Hyphens.
That's where the hyphens are. And then the episode names get even more. And
more hyphens.
Last week we had a doozy, so there were definitely lots of hyphens in last week's episode.
There's like 10 hyphens.
Yeah. I think that's it. Our email, if people want to email us, that's the only thing I can think of. Maybe.
Yeah, you can send us beer and movie ideas through the email.
And so that's going to be...
But only through the email.
Well, I mean, you send them other places, but we're less likely to use
probably going to ignore them.
Because everybody can see them.
Defeats the purpose.
Yeah. So the email is going to be KentuckyFriedCritics@gmail.com.
Nice and simple. Everything so easy. You know where to find us.
YouTube's the only one.
It's that mood. It bothers me.
That damn outlier.
I know, right? One day.
We'll get it.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's all the socials, Bo. Let's go ahead and get started into this. What are we drinking this week?
We are drinking Great Lakes Brewing Company's Nosferatu Imperial Red IPA. And it is indeed red. It's almost like you dropped blood in the beer.
I was very surprised because, an IPA is normally a very light colored beer.
Right? This is like a dark amber color.
We'll talk more about this later. So far, we've only had a sip. Nosferatu.
Oh, yeah. The OG, the original, the first vampire movie.
Before we go any further, our movie is indeed Nosferatu. Some of you out there might be saying, I thought you said there'd be a twist. There is.
There's a twist.
So the real movie, the actual original 1922 silent film is Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror. We are watching a 1998 redub. I don't even know
remix.
If you say,
we'll call it a remix.
Yeah, because that's what I say. Can you call it a dub if there's no speaking?
No, we'll call it a remix.
But yeah, so it's a remix of the movie. It's called Nosferatu, the First Vampire. This is a version of the movie that includes a soundtrack. Only a soundtrack. They didn't try to do anything silly like voice acting over top or anything like that.
Or try to paint in color or something stupid.
It's not like a traditional soundtrack either, since this is a silent movie. It is more like they give you something to listen to the whole way through.
Kind of like The Wall and Wizard of Oz.
Exactly.
You just play one while you're watching the other, and they sync up.
The only difference here is that this is a hand-selected from this band's entire discography. Well, most of their discography.
Their favorites.
We've not said
rock opera? Was that what you would call this?
Maybe. I'm not sure. It's something closer to that. Yeah.
Goth emo rock opera.
Yeah, so we've not told everybody. We gotta stop.
Oh, yeah.
It's Typo Negative.
Typo Negative.
So again, if you've never heard of that band, now you've got two things to look up this week.
Yeah.
You've got a movie to look up.
And a new band. I hadn't heard of them until Shane brought this up.
Bo found this beer and was like, I love Nosferatu, let's do this movie. And I said, I've got a twist on that movie that I think would be great. Because I knew this existed. I'd never seen it personally, but I knew it existed. And so I was like, we have to see if we can find this dubbed version of the movie where it's got this Type O Negative. Because Type O Negative, as Bo already alluded to, is a goth metal industrial, I don't know, band. But it's very eerie.
Very orchestral.
Are very focused on creatures of the night and vampires and dark things. And
their lead singer looks like Lurch joined a metal band.
Yeah, Peter Steele. He is
a giant.
He is like 7 feet tall. Not really. No one fact checked me on that, but he's a very tall man.
Easily 6'7".
I gave Bo some homework on Type O Negative to go along with this, so that way he had a little bit more idea on the band.
Yeah, because I hadn't heard of him.
So he listened to some of the albums, but he also, I made him watch one of the music videos. It coincidentally is a music video that if you find this version on DVD is included on the DVD. Is a video for Black Number One. So anybody who has seen this video already can picture what I'm talking about. But so in the video, they show Peter Steele literally holding a big string double bass.
Like a big classical one.
Like it is a guitar. Right? Well, he's a bass player, so he's holding it like a bass. But I want him to be clear that he's holding it
strapped around his shoulders.
He's no longer holding it like an upright bass. He is holding it like a strap bass.
Right.
You know,
for any wrestling fans out there, it's like when Braun Strowman did that, but he's like he's 7'4" and 400 something pounds.
Yeah, Peter Steele is a big dude.
Beast.
Very intimidating kind of guy. He definitely is.
Has that gaunt, angular face. Like, you saw that coming at you out of the shadows, you'd run.
And when you hear the voice, and again, if you've not heard him or the band, and you do find this and you want to watch this, you'll hear him. He has the voice to match. It is so deep that at certain times you're like, am I even hearing him anymore? Or has he gone past where I can hear?
I want to hear him and Danzig in a growling contest.
It would be a thing.
Right.
Unfortunately, Peter Steele is...
Oh, is he?
Oh. Passed away in like 2015 or something.
Now I'm sad.
The band was together, I want to say, until he passed away, though. Like, they were... Oh,
can they get Danzig to take over for him?
They should do something
They should try. They should get him. Because I know he's still around.
So, for people who maybe do want to watch this movie, I'm not gonna say where you can find it, but I will say that if, you were to happen to maybe go to a site like YouTube...
Give it a type.
And search... for something, I don't know, wink wink, like Type O Negative Nosferatu
1922,
that you might just find this version and be able to watch
it. It's an hour and 6 minutes.
It's not very long.
No.
You can totally do this in no time.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying that you can find that.
No, not confirmed at all.
All right. So, if you do feel like joining us,
it's not at all.
I hope you can find the movie.
Yeah.
I hope you can find it somewhere.
We hope your search on this supposed mythical website where you can do such things goes well. Indeed. Nosferatu, the first vampire that actually scared me. Because Bela Lugosi looked cool and was all, ooh, I want to suck your blood, which he never actually says in the movie, but still. This guy was so fucking creepy. And it was a silent movie, so you never heard anything. So your imagination got to add just all kinds of creepy sounds for him to be making when he came at you in the middle of the night. Yeah, not my favorite for a long time. I avoided this movie when I was a kid.
Yeah, so for anybody who has maybe not seen Nosferatu, which again, I'm not going to maybe go as far as like Willy Wonka where I think you have to.
Oh, I am assuming that everybody's already seen this. I need to not do that.
Yeah, man. This is a little, it's asking a little bit more.
It's 100 years old. I get it.
Yeah.
But
we're literally at 101 now.
Well, he was in an episode of SpongeBob.
Well, no. So that's what I was about to get to. I was about to say, I can excuse people for not seeing this movie.
Yeah.
But maybe not for not recognizing this version of a vampire. That's what I was going to get at. Okay, everyone probably knows this version of the vampire. They just maybe don't know that Nosferatu is what this version is called.
It's the one that super looks like a bat.
He's very pale, tall, long fingers. His front teeth are the vampire.
Yeah, it looks like the front teeth are the vampire
ones. Not the canine teeth.
Yeah.
And so, everyone knows you've seen this vampire.
The creepy long fingers with the claws.
We were talking before this. If you watched, if you're a millennial of a certain age, like both me and Poe are, then you probably watched Are You Afraid of the Dark? And if you did, this vampire was 100% in an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode.
I think that's probably where it scared me.
So you've probably seen this version of a vampire before. But so Nosferatu is the name specifically of this guy. It's not the name of this type of vampire.
Yeah, no. It's just him.
Yeah. Before we get into the movie itself, we'll maybe say a little bit about... So this version of the movie, like Bo said, it's a silent one. It's from the 1920s. It's a German film. It is literally just an adaptation of Dracula, but they didn't get rights to anything.
Yeah,
they didn't want to try.
Yeah, something. They were just like, weird. We'll change the names around and stuff, but it's basically Dracula.
Well, it is literally Dracula. Like, again, they changed some stuff towards the end, and maybe specifically about how you kill it. But again, we'll get to that, because I want to talk to you about that when we get to the end.
When he dies.
That being said, other than the very end, this is definitely a very, like, true to form adaptation of Dracula. Like, characters are there if you know
all the major plot points are there.
You will see it. Again, mainly names and locations have changed.
Yeah.
And not all locations.
No, they still go to Transylvania.
It's still Transylvania. The beginning location is different, obviously. Yeah. Wherever Bremen is.
I think it's supposed to be in like Austria or something.
I don't know. But on that note, I would say we're probably good to go ahead and just get into the movie, don't you think?
Yeah.
So again, if you are inclined to try to find this version, however you might do that, I'm not sure. That's up to you.
Super easy.
If you find this version, it does begin with an introduction. An introduction by...
fucking David Carradine, of all people.
David Carradine. Kung Fu.
Right, Kung
himself.
Fu. The journey continues. That was exactly what I thought when I saw him. I was like, why is it David Carradine? I could not think of a single
you were like
horror
martial
movie.
Arts vampire?
Yeah, I was like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, what horror movie was David Carradine in?
And so...
if he is in one, someone tell me in the comments.
John Carradine, his father, played Dracula in 4 movies, and not 4 important movies. Just 4 movies.
So that's why they got David Carradine, because your dad was a Dracula in some B movies.
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, at least
I can't remember all of them, but one of them is literally... it was... and then, 2 of them were in the 40s, so they were in the heyday of, like, monster
so those
movies.
were probably
decent enough movies, maybe. Again, they're not the Universal... monster movies to some other companies. But one of them that he did in the 60s was 100% Billy the Kid versus Dracula, or meets Dracula, or,
I want to see it. I have to see this movie now.
So again, by no means, by no stretch of the imagination,
that is some Mystery Science Theater shit right there, dude.
Is there a reason why we needed to have David Carradine do the introduction for this movie?
All right, well, at least it makes sense to me now.
But so it is David Carradine. He gives us a little bit of history on both vampires and the film itself. Yeah. So I'll give him credit. I don't know.
It was a good intro. Just didn't understand why
it was filmed poorly.
Yeah, just don't understand why it was him.
Like, don't get me wrong. Again, if you watch the copy that we watched from this mystical website, then you will be watching what is a poor quality copy already.
Yeah.
But you could not only... the poor production quality shone through the poor video quality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you could tell that this man was sitting in essentially like a giant living room or something.
Somebody's living room. They just put some curtains up and shit. Just because it's a stage.
Like, it just sounded like... I mean, I want to say our production quality sounds better than the production quality than they had David Carradine record in for this.
He needed the money, I guess.
Oh, no, definitely. This was definitely at a point in his life where he was going through some drugs.
This was
pre-Kill Bill. Did you notice
like
he was like licking his mouth constantly and stuff? Like he was just like...
Nup, nup, nup.
Like every 3 words, I was like, haha, I know why he signed on for this.
Need that cocaine money.
So we suffer through an introduction by David Carradine. Once we get through that, we make it to the movie. Before we just go straight to the black and white original film, they do have like 2 title cards that are pre like they are for this version
with the fire
and it is literally Nosferatu in the crazy like fire burning logo, like Pumpkinhead. Like it was like the Pumpkinhead intro.
What's it called? PowerPoint.
But so we see it's a Nosferatu the first vampire in this really horrible style.
PowerPoint
and then it
font.
tells us that Typo Negative is doing the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And it cuts in to the music. Oh, before we get started, I did want to say, so all the music from this comes from 3 of their albums.
Yeah.
Slow, Deep, and Hard, October Rust, and Bloody Kisses. Bloody Kisses, which is the one that I gave Bo for homework.
Yeah, that was good.
Then October Rust, which Bo listened to half of.
Yeah, before I realized that that's what was happening. Thanks, Spotify.
Now, we are not going to go through and tell you all of the songs.
names of the song.
Go to Google and look it up. There are sites. This is not a well-kept secret.
No.
This is a thing. A lot of people really like this version of the movie. There are several people, this is how they first saw Nosferatu.
This is my favorite version so far. I've seen this movie a few times beforehand, and it's usually like way longer because they slow the film speed down and do all that stuff.
You can find versions of this movie that vary anywhere from
like
an hour to like a full 90 minutes. Yeah. And it's because this is from an era where, since it's all, like if you've ever watched anything from like the 20s or the 30s, like Buster Keaton.
It's all really clippy and
that's
it looks
because
like it's going fast.
Yeah, that's because like the ratios to which things play back at is way different now than what the technology we used to use. So like to pinpoint it down and get it right is difficult.
Yeah.
So what we're watching is definitely one of them where people have a little bit of a weird movement.
Yeah, and I think they used the original title cards and shit too. So
if you watch other versions that are closer to 90 minutes, it's going to be slowed down. It's going to look a little bit more like real, like how movement should look. That being said,
literally every version you will watch will have different music because I think the original score was lost in a fire.
This is a very good version, but so if you happen to look it up, you can find lists that tell you all of the
songs that they use.
That being said, just find this video because this video comes from people who already masterfully synced it up.
Yep.
If you try to do this yourself and you look up these songs, but you find an hour and 14-minute long version of the movie, things aren't going to line up anymore.
Yeah.
If you want to know every track that's used, you can find it. We're not going to take the time to tell you every track. We might mention our favorites or just tell you the spots where our favorite song is, and then you can do the looking.
Yeah, and you can go look it up.
They might hear that song and not care. So it's a lot more about you looking up what you like. There's no reason for us to force down your throat the name of every song.
Yeah.
I'm well aware that Typo Negative is not everybody's cup of tea. I suggested this to Bo because I knew it would be his cup of tea.
I like metal.
When he said
kids.
So when he said this was a movie he wanted to watch and he found a beer for it, I knew that this was going to be a definite, he was going to be like, oh, that sounds great.
Yep.
So that's why I went with it. By no means do I expect everybody out there listening to automatically
be
like
that it was only an hour because I watched it like 3 times in a row.
We can go ahead and get started now. I think now we've officially covered everything. All right, but yeah, so the movie starts in. Again, normally I'm that person. I'm going to tell you what the movie kicks in with the music.
That's what we've been doing.
That's all we've been telling you. So I don't think we need to cover that. You already understand it is soundtracked by a band that I do like. I have enjoyed since high school. So we can move on from that. The song it starts in on is great. Other than, as Bo points out, maybe not as happy as the very beginning. So the movie it is silent film, so the first little bit is just going to be exposition because you have to know where we are.
Yeah, it's just a title
No one's
card.
there to tell you, so someone has to give you the words.
Old school.
But that being said, this movie, compared to a lot of silent movies, gives you an excellent storytelling purpose for all the title cards.
Yeah.
We immediately find out that we are seeing excerpts
from the diary of Joseph Berkman.
So we get everything from a historian.
Yeah. He's been trying to figure out what caused the epidemic in Bremen.
Yeah, the plague.
The plague.
It brought this is not saying this is during the era of the Black Plague. This is still like the 1830s, 1840s. This is
1843.
Yeah, this is still like Dracula time frame.
Yeah,
okay, guys?
Victorian England and all that shit.
But they are saying, because the bubonic plague itself did have random reoccurrences.
Yeah, it did. It popped back up throughout history.
So he was just trying to figure out why Bremen itself. That's the city that he's from and our main characters.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out what caused it and why it just suddenly stopped.
And he believes he's found it.
Yeah.
And so we're just picking up from him telling us that he believes he's found information that says that Thomas Hutter
and his wife Ellen are the patient zero, I guess.
Well, he doesn't even know that. He just says he knows that they are somehow involved in the beginning and somehow involved in the end.
Yep.
And then the proceeds of what we get are just excerpts when they're not direct information from what's happening in
or
scene.
dialogue.
Yeah, the text cards are then going to be just excerpts of his diary to give us a little bit more exposition,
a little more
when needed,
which I liked.
It is. It's a
good use
great
of
way
title
to
card.
work in and not make you just feel like you're being hit in the head with information for no reason.
Yeah.
It gives a reason.
They gave me a reason for these title cards to be there.
So again, for people who maybe haven't really watched silent movies, I feel like this one is going to be one that's easier for you to watch because of the creative use of the title cards. Why they're there.
Yeah.
It really helps. We find that out, and then it just immediately cuts to our two
heroes.
Well, it's our main character and his wife. She becomes important later, but not until then.
No.
In the beginning, you would have I would not fault you for not thinking she is a main character.
You could forget her. If she didn't get mentioned a bunch of times, you'd be like, oh yeah, he was married.
Yeah, so we see them, and they are very happy.
Yep.
They are dancing around their house.
He's out picking flowers. She's playing with the cat.
Yeah, they big loving. Yeah. Their house is full of love and laughter.
Bright sunshine and everything.
They really want to drive home just how happy
everything is.
They are. We know that. We move from there onto the street as Thomas heads to work.
Yeah, I think he's going to work.
That is the only problem here. There are going to be several moments where we don't really know
because they don't tell us.
Yeah,
but he runs into some dude on the street, and then he just
a miserly old man on the street.
Yeah, and he's just like, you can't run from your destiny.
Yeah, I was going to say who they make it seem like a jovial moment, but the guy throws some ominous information at him because it's like. What is he running from his destiny?
Right? What the hell do you mean?
Just off to work.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the office of Agent Knock. They don't tell us what he's an agent of. It just says agent.
In the credits.
Agent?
In the credits,
estate
it says real estate agent in the credits. I looked because I was confused too. I was like, "What is he?"
I was like, "Well, again, to me, it was only going to be tax agent or real estate agent.
Yeah,
those are the only two that made sense because it was definitely about money
and buying
property.
A house and stuff.
And those are the two that might be involved in those. So he's definitely he's supposed to be like very much like a Scrooge kind of character.
Yeah,
he's a miserly old man, not the kind of guy you want to work for.
A little crazy.
And apparently Thomas works there. Yeah. I don't know. He just kind of we see Knock. He gets a letter. He's reading the letter. He goes a little crazy.
If you paused it and looked at it, it's all kinds of weird. It's like Viking runes and strange symbols and stuff. But he stands there and reads it like he knows what it says.
And that's another reason why I highly suggest you find this version of the movie is because, again, newer versions or other versions are super cleaned up. And it literally, some of them are so cleaned up. I don't know if you've seen some of them where it almost looks like it's like they filmed today on sepia tone, and I'm like, I can't watch this. It looks so weird to me.
I tried to watch another version after I watched this one, and it was painful. I couldn't. They had every time Ellen was on screen, there was like this chick vocalizing just oh, and I was like, oh my god, I can't do this.
But again, so for this version, again, it works so well.
Yeah.
Because it's using
the music in this scene is super ominous because Knock is about to send him off on off to Transylvania, and he's already acting weird. Like, I'm like, is he already being controlled?
Well,
here?
So I got
or is he just crazy?
So real quick though, I don't want to wrap up what I'm saying. The visuals for this version though is what I was are great because again, this version isn't real cleaned up.
No,
it is very dirty and grainy, and it gives it spookier because of that. The music, it fits the music.
Yeah, the gritty,
and again, like you were saying,
dark
for this
tone
scene,
and stuff. Yeah,
it does. It gets real maddening, and you can't tell. I agree. I couldn't tell if he was already supposed to be controlled by
Nosferatu,
or if he was just greedy.
Yeah, right.
Because he is just talking about lots of money.
He's acting really, really nuts in this scene.
My theory is that he's not actually under control until the very end of the scene, because there's a moment you see like
after he finished the very end of it. Did it? He read half of it.
When he read the end of it, he got the flash of his eyes.
Yeah,
did you see
that's
it?
what it was.
So in the beginning, when he's telling Thomas Hutter, no, you just have to do this.
Yeah.
It was all just greed.
Yeah.
Right.
And then after he finished the letter, then it was
control.
just like, yeah.
So, but in the
letter.
beginning, which is when he convinces Thomas to go, it was all just greed.
I like Thomas though. He goes over to the map and he's just sitting there. He's all serious. He's just like, "How goddamn far is that?" And he's got his hands up and he's measuring. And he's looking back like, "Over here, really? Are you sure? That's a long way."
Before he's under control completely is when he tells Thomas, "Hey, you need to go get this guy.
Yeah, you're going to go to Transylvania. This dude, he wants to buy a house in our nice city.
We can let him have that house next to yours."
They called it a mansion.
I know.
It looked like a rundown barn.
Mansion it just meant big property. Yeah. It didn't necessarily mean good property.
That's right? Fair.
But that's the key there, though, is that literally Knock was not even fully under control
until after he read the letter, because that's when he's just like, your house, that house next to yours would be great.
But in the beginning, when he convinced him to go and he said the creepy stuff about blood and all of that was just greed.
Yeah, just all greed. A little sweat, perseverance, maybe a little blood.
But none of it was the vampire.
No.
None of that was the vampire. That was all just greed.
That was all just him being like, money, money.
Because again, he didn't finish the letter.
Screw this nice young man that works for me, as long as I get paid.
Because he didn't finish the letter until almost the end of the scene.
Yeah, that's when he goes and looks over at the map.
Finished,
Yeah, after he reads half of it and he goes over to the map.
And he's like, "Where am I going?"
Yeah. He goes home to tell Ellen.
Well, yeah. We get to see Knock finish the letter after this. He finishes the letter. That's when he's under full. You see this split-second scene where it looks like his eyes go white.
Yeah.
Did you see it? Like, there's a split second where it looks like his eyes literally like flash like white for a second.
Yeah.
And then that's when I would assume he was fully under control. So literally, like, the scene is over before he's fully under control. But yeah, so Knock sends. He tells Thomas or Hutter. I want to go ahead. Let's take this moment to go ahead and clear that up.
Go ahead and clear that up.
Because it will become more and more clear if you watch this movie as you go on that there is a very weird thing going on with the names here.
Yeah, in the first title card,
he is Thomas Hutter. And she is Ellen. But all of the other title cards, minus when Ellen talks about Thomas, it will just say Hutter, and it will say it like it is. It will the way it references it like it's his first name. Not like it's his last name.
No.
And beyond that, there are just scenes like the handwriting scene in the note later on, where we will see that Ellen's name is Nina, not Ellen.
Yeah, because
we don't know when and where or what copies, but we can definitely be clear.
Something got lost in translation
at some
somewhere.
Because again, you have to keep in mind that in the 1920s, this movie was made in Germany. It would have then been at that point, everything, title cards, handwriting scenes would have been in German.
Yeah.
So then it went to an English market in England
and was translated into English,
and then was shipped across the ocean to the
United States,
and was probably changed again because we use different vernacular
and
than English.
Yeah, and different names, and we had heat with Germany after the First World War and stuff. So probably not the best idea to have too many German-sounding names in your movie.
Yeah. So we couldn't tell you when or where these names. So if we jump around a little bit and say Thomas or say just Hutter or say, well, now you don't have to worry. We'll never say
call
Nina.
Ellen Nina. No.
Because there's only one scene.
Yeah, it's where he writes the letter home and it says, Nina, my beloved.
But so just understand that we're not trying to confuse you when we go back and forth. It probably just has more to do with like what's going on in the scene and how many times they have used Thomas or they have used Hutter on screen.
Yeah.
As to why our notes or why we are saying
Thomas three times. The rest of the time, it's like Hutter.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Very weird.
Knock tells Thomas or Hutter, whichever you want to go with. Yeah. He tells our hero, our guy, that he needs to leave immediately.
Yep, you got to go. So he rushes home to go tell Ellen, and
he literally words it. I have to do this. I'm going to go soon, and I'm going to be gone for several months. And she reacts exactly the way you would expect any woman today to respond to that if you were to walk up to her out of the blue,
out of nowhere,
and say, I have to leave tomorrow.
Like, he just left for work. He couldn't have been gone for like 45 minutes. He's already back. Like, I gotta go to Transylvania. Bye.
And
he seems super excited too. He like rushes off and he's in the background running back and forth, gathering up his stuff.
Oh, and one thing I want to point out that we forgot to mention. Knock specifically told Thomas to not pay attention to anybody if they try to tell him
that the people in Transylvania talk about
phantoms or there are crazy things in Transylvania. Well, I only point this out because as soon as he told Ellen that he has to go to because he doesn't say Transylvania.
No, he says the Carpathian Mountains.
Yeah, he says I have to go to a place in the Carpathian Mountains. As soon as he says that, her face got weird.
Yeah,
did you notice?
Yeah,
like she was scared. Like she does know
no.
those things that Knock was trying to be like. If someone tells you, so I feel like that is a whole part that title cards don't tell us.
No,
but we're just supposed to pick up from
she's
cues.
Psychic.
Is that it's just that she does know.
Something about the Transylvanian stuff.
Again, Knock was only saying people might tell you stories. Don't listen.
Maybe she's from there.
I don't think it's that, dude. You're looking way too far into it. Transylvania, if 200 years ago is when he died, 200 years worth of folklore stories have already been going on about a vampire. I'm just saying she is one of the people who's heard this story.
My nursemaid used to tell me that story.
Ironically enough, one of the people who had never heard this story. That's what I'm saying.
His parents sheltered him.
That's why. Yes, that's why Knock was like, "Don't listen to anybody between now and when you leave."
Yeah, they're stupid. Just don't.
It's because Knock is aware that lots of people know this. Thomas just apparently didn't.
Yeah, and he doesn't want him to get freaked out and not go because he wants his money.
Yeah.
Until he reads the rest of the letter. Now he's just like, now my master wants you to come do things.
Well, like we said, everybody has... All of these people are direct characters from Dracula.
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
So, Thomas is Jonathan Harker.
Yeah.
Ellen is Mina.
Yeah.
And Knock is supposed to be Renfield. He's the one.
Yeah, he's the one who goes crazy and eats the bugs.
Because this guy, we're not.
He doesn't eat bugs, which I was.
No, later he does.
Oh, does he?
In the prison, he eats a fly, I think.
Oh, I didn't see that part. I saw.
Well, they don't make a big deal of it.
I saw him look at a spider web.
It's right before he looks up at the spider web.
Oh.
I think they were wanting us to see by Ellen's facial reactions and body movements that she knew it was a weird place.
Yeah,
and that he shouldn't
full of
go.
Ghosts and demons.
Yeah, and so I think that because again, she acts kind of weird when he says it. Not just weird like why are you leaving for 3 months, but like just uncomfortable weird about it. And then as soon as we leave this scene, they tell us that he takes her to their friend's house. Harding and Annie.
Yeah.
I only point this out because I have a friend named Harding and I had never ever seen this name anywhere before.
Maybe his mom and dad were huge fans.
And when I saw this, I was like, shut up. It is a name? It's a real name?
It's a real name? I thought he was
sorry,
lying
Harding.
to me.
If you listen, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make fun of your name.
I just thought you were lying to me the whole time.
I didn't realize.
I just thought you were hiding your first name from me and just wanted to go by your last one.
But so we go from their house to the... I don't know. It's not supposed to be the next morning, but the scenes play out like you think like literally he leaves that quick. Yeah. It's obviously supposed to be a couple of days. He got his affairs together.
He got everything and they got her all settled and stuff.
And obviously to that house because we leave in their house. Yeah. And then they're at Annie.
Really
Harding
nice
and Annie's
house.
Harding and Annie's is a pretty nice house
too.
Yeah,
it is.
It's a nice townhouse.
Right. They got this nice little staircase going up into the thing.
But so when they come outside though, like this is what I was gonna get at. Like she seems like she knows more or is really weirded out by the stuff because he's leaving and she's all in black.
Yeah,
like
I noticed that too. I was like, why is she wearing black like she's going to a funeral?
Well, no, back then it wouldn't have even been that. She would have been all in black because she is a widow.
She doesn't expect him to come back. I think she stays in black the rest of the movie.
So that's my point. I feel like she knew, right?
I missed that. I watched
it
that's
an
times.
Interpretation thing.
That's true, but like I didn't pick up on anything like that. But now you pointed out, I'm like, well, she was wearing that black dress when she was sitting on the beach later in the movie too. Fuck, she didn't expect him to come back, did she?
Yeah. Now, mind you, at this point, most of the movie, we've not said this yet, the typo negative songs that you're getting are not, most of them aren't song. Like, okay, when I tell you songs, and most people are going to be thinking, music. Most people are going to be thinking like, we're hearing lyrics singing and lyrics the whole time. It's not. And that's why they do make such a great...
You're getting a lot of instrumental.
Because that's what they do. You listen to the albums, you know, like a lot of their stuff. Yes, they had Black Number One is a 3.5 minute popular track that they released as a major, thing.
As a single.
But that being said, on the album, it's like a 9-minute track with tons of ambient sounds and music before it starts and sound effects and spooky. And so a lot of what is used in this movie is not necessarily tracks of full song. Yeah, it is tracks of that.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the reason it works, is because it's just good ambient.
Creepy goth guitar music in the background.
It works. Chains clanking.
Yeah, chains clanking and dudes chanting in
and
the
so
language you don't understand.
If you don't hear us focus on a song like we haven't for a while, it's because probably since the very first song, all you've heard in the background
has been this creepy ambient
music.
And
I just want to make sure, I want to be clear, because we picked this one for a reason. I don't want people to think that we're not paying it. Yeah, we could have easily picked a regular version.
The music fits
very well
with these scenes. The only scene
it's
is
just
the
not,
very first one where
it's just not
everybody's
really noteworthy.
happy.
Yeah, it's just not really noteworthy though. You know what I mean? Like right now I can't tell you, because it's just sound effects and ambient sounding that
creepy
fits
music
really well.
that fits with the scene.
Yeah. At that point though, we, like I said, now that we're back on track,
she's in her black dress.
She's in her black dress.
Bye.
She says bye. They embrace. But so he begins his journey,
and we get another title card
that tells us that's what.
Yeah, this is like through dust and storm and all that.
It was a
crap.
very weird way to basically say it took a long time to get to Transylvania, right? Because that's what that's what happens.
All it was.
We see wherever Bremen is, Austria or wherever, and then we see he's in the foothills of Transylvania, right?
Yeah.
He's not
quite there yet.
He's not quite to Count Orlok's castle.
No, he stops
he's
at
just
like
he's at the literally he sees the mountains. He's an inn.
Yeah.
At the foothill.
Nice little
small town
inn where the stagecoach pulls up. He goes in. He wants food because he's late. He's already supposed to be at Count Orlok's castle. He tells everybody in there.
And as soon as he says it, every single person
just looks at him like, what?
And at this point, we get no title cards to tell us, but the insinuation is that literally everybody in this place tells him, don't go there.
Yo, dude, don't do that. Go home.
You want to do anything but that.
Yeah.
And he laughs it all off.
Yeah, he's like, whatever.
He's like, just give me my room.
Yeah, give me my room. I'm going to bed.
They give him a room, and I love this little point of reference for no reason.
Yeah.
They give him a room, and literally like the way we might find a Bible in a hotel room, he finds a book about vampires. Would that not scare you to leave?
It would. I wouldn't have stayed there. Because I'm pretty sure it didn't say anything about him packing it.
No.
In his stuff, right?
100%.
Like he
that
just found it in the room.
Like he found it in the room.
Okay, because that made I was like I kept being like, where did that book come
Like I said,
from?
like the way you would find a Bible.
Like a Bible in a hotel room.
In a drawer.
And it's just a book of vampires. I don't know
about the education.
I don't know. I'd probably stay in that hotel.
And about how they're from, the area you're sitting in.
If they don't do that in Transylvania, they fucking should.
Jeez. But yeah, so he gets to read the book. The book sets up that literally Count Orlok and Nosferatu... It still doesn't say the same person.
No,
right?
he doesn't know that. It
says
the Nosferatu was born in 14-something.
So he gets the history of Nosferatu. We can assume, even though the title cards don't tell us, that what he's reading is essentially the history we all know from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
Like, he has the backstory of Vlad Dracul.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's impaling people. He
drank their blood. And all
like that's what he's reading.
Made a deal with the devil.
He finds out we do get this in the title card that he became immortal.
Yeah.
That the plague followed him.
Something like that. Yeah.
And again, at this point, we now know that when it's saying the plague, that it's because no one realizes he is draining the life force. Not that there is a disease
they're like
taking over the areas.
What are these bite marks? Must be a rat.
Except for, obviously, here in the mountains
because they know
of
better.
Carpathia.
Yeah, they know better.
Because they know better,
yeah.
They don't go near his castle anymore. That's why
people die when they go up there.
And
so
that's why he has to go to Bremen.
Yeah.
Because he's like, man, I can't eat
He's got to
more.
DoorDash his food to him.
Well, he can't even do that anymore. Nobody comes to his house.
Nobody comes out there anymore.
The closest he got was one guy, and it's because apparently Thomas has never heard anything about the phantoms in Transylvania.
He had to go catfish some poor guy, get him to come down there.
At this point, Thomas has just laughed off.
Yeah.
Everything he's read in the book. He does not even care.
No.
He
throws it even.
He goes to sleep like a baby.
Yeah. And
outside,
all the animals run away.
Well, we see one hyena.
Yeah,
it's a hyena.
Weird. Is it a hyena?
It is definitely a hyena.
That is weird. Why is there a hyena in Transylvania?
I don't know. But yeah, so a hyena shows up, scares off all the horses. I think it was
supposed to be a wolf, and they're just like, we don't have a wolf. Well, we'll use the hyena. It's fine.
But so a hyena scares off like all the horses.
Yeah.
I don't understand exactly, but so it's supposed to be an ominous sign.
If it would have been a wolf, it would have made more sense, because in the novel, Dracula can turn into a wolf, but it was a fucking hyena, so I was like, that makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
But yeah, so we totally get to see the horses all run off, and then he wakes up the next morning, still laughing, enjoying the day, sun shining.
He sees the horses coming back.
He sees the horses running back crazy, and then he immediately reads in the book again
about how horses can sense things.
Well, not horses,
or not
all animals.
Yeah.
All animals can sense danger before people can, and he doesn't think anything about the horses running nuts outside.
And he laughs that off too.
But I want to point out, did you notice? So they wanted us. I don't know. I'm going to ask you. We see the horses in that scene, right? They are all running, and it looks like they're running nuts, and it's supposed to be us being like, oh, they sense danger.
Yeah.
Did you notice the person in the scene?
No, I didn't.
There's a person literally in the same kind of white pajamas, just like he's in, walking beside the horses, obviously being the person that scared the horses. Yeah. And I was like, were we supposed to see this person or not?
Probably not. It was probably just like the horse handler, and he wasn't supposed to be in the shot.
And they were,
and it was the only good shot they got.
Well, not only that, dude, back then, whatever they would have watched it back on would have been...
Yeah, they probably wouldn't even noticed him.
They wouldn't have had detail on whatever they watched it back on. At this point, he's still in good spirits.
Yeah, he's all happy and all laughing and
everything.
Everybody's just like, dude, don't go up there.
He hires another carriage. This is a different carriage than what dropped him off.
Yeah.
And
these are local boys here.
They agree to take him.
But only so far.
And they do. They hit a certain point, and they are like abruptly. You can tell Thomas was startled by the fact that they stopped.
What are we doing? They're like, no, this is as far as we're going, buddy. Not for all the money.
And again, at this point, they tell him the phantoms live.
Yeah, this is where phantoms live over there.
And you're like, what? They keep saying this.
The music transition here was great, because as soon as they tell him that like he has to walk and they kick him out, the music just is like, and now you die.
And it turns, and then a phantom shows up, and we get this crazy like fast pace because they show the phantom drives nuts. But yeah, phantom shows up in its carriage, played by
the
Max Schreck, the guy who
same guy. Is it supposed to be the same person?
I don't know. I don't understand.
I don't either.
But so it's definitely the same person, looking roughly like somewhere in between his Count Orlok and his Nosferatu appearance.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like he's like
he's somewhere in between.
Because he's got the sunken eyes.
But he's got a different hat. And he's all like... got like a high collar, and he's covering his face a little bit.
Yeah, so we get the crazy fast paced like we're all gonna die type music playing as they're going around the mountain.
Poor Thomas is out the window like, what's going on?
And then so he drops him off. The Phantom drops him off. Immediately gets out of there.
Yeah, and then the carriage starts to drive away, and the music starts to just fade like it's what what the carriage driver was listening to.
And then Thomas starts walking up the hill, right?
Yeah.
And Count Orlok is there, and
I like his hat. He's this cool little pointed hat thing.
And Count Orlok tells him, "Oh yeah, I have no attendance here.
It's after midnight.
You showed up way late.
My servants are all asleep.
Sorry. Which is awkward.
Yeah.
But so Thomas just goes with it. They go inside. They have a meal.
Yeah. He's sitting there. He goes to cut him some bread.
He's getting... Now, this is the other question.
This was weird. Did he cut his thumb first, or did the clock scare him and then he cut his thumb?
Or is he getting mesmerized by the
because he looks already. Because he like looks up over his newspaper
There's so many questions. Yeah. But something causes Thomas to cut himself. Whether it be accident, whether it be persuasion from Nosferatu. Now, that'll be the thing I want to point out. At this point, you might hear us go back and forth between calling him Nosferatu or Count Orlok. So much like... if you watch any interpretation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, when he's trying to fool people, he has a human form.
Yeah, it's Alucard.
It's Dracula backwards.
Yeah, if you play Symphony of the Night.
Or he'll still use Vlad in some iterations of the story when he's trying to be a person. It is that kind of situation. You know, Count Orlok is like his secret identity.
Yeah, his Clark Kent.
Yeah. And so if you hear us say Count Orlok, just know that means he is not in vampire form.
Yeah, he hasn't vamp-faced.
He's got bigger, bushier eyebrows.
Yeah, and
as Count Orlok.
And he doesn't have
He's got the funny hat.
He doesn't have the big teeth.
the front teeth. No claws.
No claws either. Well, I don't know. He kind of keeps his hands.
They're longer. I don't think they're pointed. If you hear us go back and forth, know that there's a reason for it. Nosferatu is only when he's in vampire form.
Yeah.
Well, he cuts himself while eating with the Count, and once he cuts himself, the Count gets creepy.
Creepy. Blood.
Almost sexual.
Your precious blood.
Everything but shoves his thumb in his mouth and starts
I
sucking
thought he
the
was
blood
going
right
to.
there. But then he like corners him up by the fireplace and he's like, let me talk to you some more.
I have many hours till daylight and I can sleep all day. And I'm like, that's a creepy line.
So creepy.
Right?
So bizarre. And then
it just cuts to the next morning.
It cuts to Thomas waking up right there. Right there, same place by the fireplace. No count.
No count. Doesn't know. He's just like, okay, that was weird dream.
We see him rubbing his neck. Now we don't know why yet, because again, this is a very rough cut of this movie. You are definitely not going to see things from far away. You're going to wait until a very close up shot because it fits the vibe, it fits the spooky. But things don't have a lot of detail. No. So even if you could have seen from the distance, you definitely won't in this cut of the movie.
No, I could barely tell when they went to a close up. Yeah, because he goes and kind of checks his neck with a little mirror.
So you can't tell there are bite marks. We do know there are some. Yeah. Shortly after this, there's a letter that definitely tells you. But just so you know, if you're watching the scene, you may not be able to tell that by looking at it
on the mirror that they couldn't, so you can't see.
So, but he wakes up, but this is really awkward. He wakes up. It's the first time he wakes up and he's not nearly as jovial as he has been. He's still jovial.
Yeah. He's still a pretty happy guy.
But he is not.
As soon as he writes everything off as that was an odd dream and I have these weird bite marks on my neck. Whatever.
And he sees a table full of food. And forgets everything.
Yeah, immediately. He just goes to town, which I'd probably do the same thing.
And he still sees nobody. He sees no one. No attendants.
Nothing.
No servants.
They could have put one other guy.
Nope, nothing.
Can't cast one guy. Just like
I just think there aren't supposed to be any. Right? Like, again,
what about he could have had his Renfield...
because
an Igor kind of character.
His Renfield is the guy back there.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not. He took care of his Renfield's far. Well, and Renfield was too. Renfield wasn't in his castle.
Yeah, that's right.
So
just saying.
I agree, but I mean, I think they purposely did it.
One more guy.
I don't think it was a hiring thing. I think it was a choice. I think they just didn't.
It was probably a choice. Just
they wanted to be like, no, his persuasion is so strong on Thomas. Thomas just never noticed.
He's not even going to question it.
That there was never a servant after him being told there were servants at the castle. We can only assume is probably not the very next. It's not that day. That sometime during his stay, because again, he was supposed to be gone for a while. He obviously wasn't going to get there to immediately turn around. But he does write it. We see that he's writing a letter. Yeah, he's writing a letter. No, I guess the letter does insinuate it's the next day, right? No. He says dreams, plural.
Yeah, he does.
So it's got to be more than one day, right? Maybe. Either way, he writes a letter to Ellen at some point.
Yeah, just
whether it's the next day or a few days later, at some point, he writes her a letter telling her what's going on, not to worry about him. He did, however, wake up with some weird marks on his neck. Maybe they're just spider bites.
Spider bites.
Mosquitoes?
Gigantic fucking spider bite. I don't want to see the spider that leaves a mark on you.
He's been having some crazy dreams.
Yeah.
But don't worry about it.
No, everything's fine. This place is kind of weird, but don't worry about it.
Everything's good. And then we get this moment where I don't even understand. I guess this is how letter writing worked back then. But so he's sitting on top of the castle.
Yeah, he's like up on the castle wall.
And he looks down and just sees a dude just
riding a horse.
Nothing looks special about the guy. Just a dude riding a horse. And he yells from the top of the castle, "Hey you, I need you to do me something. Do me a favor. Do me a solid."
Right? You could take this letter.
And so the guy is like, "What?" And he just waits for Thomas to get down off the top of the castle and out the front door. And Thomas is like, "You're my mans. It took me several weeks to get here, but can you get this letter to my wife?"
She's like a month and a half that way, just right in that direction.
It's insane.
Ask for Ellen.
And so where are we? Yeah,
him and Orlocker in the study going over paperwork about the house, and he sees the picture of Ellen in the little locket.
And he starts to get creepy about her.
And he picks it up and he's just like, "Is this your wife?"
It's real creepy about her too. Yeah.
Right.
How do you say that?
What a lovely throat.
A weird thing to say.
You can't say it normally.
No,
you have to use a creepy voice when you say it.
Because no one would say that.
No one
normally.
would ever say that normally.
But that's the scene where we get to see where, like...
He buys the house and he's just
and
like,
we're going to
be neighbors.
Yeah, Thomas is starting to kind of question this idea of this
like,
man living next to him.
Cool, man. Weird thing you said about my wife, but I'm going to go ahead and go to my room and go ahead and I'm going to look at this vampire book real quick and see what it has to say about. And it's like, you can know if you've been bit by a vampire by these marks on your neck, and they need blood to sustain themselves and stuff. And then this is the scene where like Max Schreck's is really scary because he goes to go look out the door.
Yeah,
and the music was perfect. He goes to pull the door open. There's this guitar screech right when he pulls it, so it's just all. And then he's full vamp down the hallway, big long clawed nails, and he's just all
coming towards
Thomas.
Yeah,
and Thomas freaks out, dude.
So this is the part where we cut to Ellen. We've not seen anybody other than Thomas and Warlock for a minute here.
Yeah.
Again, no title cards really telling us time. That's our best way to know that it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Is the fact that we've not seen anybody else. We've only seen interactions between these two. What we can assume is supposed to be happening concurrently, though. Like, at the same time, Thomas is seeing...
Nosferatu come down
for the first
hallway,
time,
right?
like actually seeing it. Magically, Ellen is sleepwalking, and
it's weird. She gets up and goes and like on the balcony and starts walking along the railing.
And our boy Harding is in his study, looks out the window,
smoking a huge pipe. Did you see that pipe? It was like 3 feet long, looked like a saxophone. It was awesome.
All metal, all metal, crazy looking thing.
It was awesome. I want it.
My wife said she's pretty sure that it's an opium pipe of some sort, and I was like, well, I wouldn't doubt it because again, attached to a lot of these horror movie families and things like that's very.
And it was super popular in that time period.
And I couldn't figure out any other reason to have a pipe that looked like that.
But I want one.
It was crazy though. Right? Yeah, Harding had the craziest pipe I'd ever seen. But yeah, so he looks out the window and he sees that she's not about to jump, but she's definitely dangerous. She's out on the balcony. He goes out to get her, and when he grabs her, she screams, and her scream
scares off Nosferatu somehow.
Because now we can see that there is some kind of strong psychic connection between the love they have for each other. It's got a strong hold over both of them. Yeah,
it's really weird. And then the Nosferatu just leaves.
Yeah, he got scared. He just kind of goes because at this point everything's set. The plans are made.
He's got the
movers
house.
Are coming to move his.
Oh, is that not him?
Coffins and stuff.
I thought that was him down there moving the coffins.
No, but I mean to actually get them on the boat and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we see them later when they kick it open.
Yeah, because then after he goes and wakes up and goes looking.
So I'm not talking about. I'm just saying like in general he's good. I'm not talking about that scene.
Okay.
In general, he's good because he knows these things are happening.
Yeah, everything's set in order.
Yeah. Because, again, I'm not worried about that part. But, again, you do know there are actual movers. They're the people that work on the boat, and they kick the lid off.
Yeah, those.
When they're on the boat.
But when he was loading it on that, like, carriage and shit, I was like, oh, was that not him? But it was.
Yeah. Same thing whenever he unloads it. It's him.
Yeah.
But I'm talking
so funny carrying those fucking coffins.
But the actually getting onto the boat, we know it was the people who worked on the boat. Because we see them throw him down, and the one kicks the lid off. We'll get back, though.
Yeah.
Go back.
So the next morning... He goes. He's
at this point. Thomas knows that it's not right.
Yeah, something.
He's finally again at this point. He's probably so far under the spell that
that can't be.
He feels
that couldn't have been a nightmare.
He feels like he has some self-control, some will of his own.
Yeah,
but he might not, right? Because you know how vampires work.
Yeah, they hypnotize you and shit.
They start to take control, especially if you've already been bitten.
Yeah, enthrall you.
Yeah,
that's the term.
So at this point, though, he's gonna try his damnedest to get away.
Yeah, he goes and looking. And goes down into the crypt and finds Orlok in the coffin and flips out. Did you see him go up the stairs?
Yeah, he was
smooth as fuck going up those stairs.
Again, how crazy that is that he was already scared, ready to go, but he goes to the basement one last time.
Right? He had to be sure.
But yeah, so he sees Orlok with the coffins full of dirt.
Yeah,
because this is one of those stories. You know, sometimes you see this, sometimes you don't. When you see Dracula,
yeah,
but this is definitely a vampire myth. You know, like you have to sleep in the dirt
that you were buried in
originally. Yeah, so
otherwise you'll die.
And he's got multiple coffins full of it.
Yeah, like 5 or 6.
I guess because he just wants to make sure.
Oh no, it was some pretty cool stop motion when like the lid came up and closed in when he was laying in the top one.
I understand. It's just weird. I was like, why does he need that many?
But I just liked it because he looked really funny. There's Dracula basically out there carrying these coffins. Oh, gotta load the van, everybody.
Then Thomas freaks out and leaves, right?
Yeah, why'd he go out the window? Was his door locked?
I don't know.
For some reason, he makes a rope out of sheets and climbs out the window and falls and knocks himself out.
And then is in a hospital for a while.
It's like I'm a hospital or something.
We're not even going to worry about him for a little bit. Because basically, from just like how in the beginning we didn't talk to you about Ellen for a long while, now we're going to talk to you about Ellen and Dracula a little bit, and not Thomas for a while. Because because Thomas doesn't really show back up
till the last
until the very end, until he gets back to where everybody else is.
Yeah. Other than that, it's just kind of shots of him being like, I gotta get home.
Or sometimes not even that, just him sitting in the hospital.
Oh yeah, there's a couple where he's just in the hospital room, and those people are like, well, he's got a fever, and he's not waking up, and then he wakes up and he's like, I gotta leave, and they're like, well, you probably shouldn't, and he's like, but I have to.
Yeah. So again, we don't even need to focus on Thomas for a while. We cut to. I'd say let's do the boat first, right? So we know that
the Demeter.
Orlok / Nosferatu has gotten the caskets to the boat, but the people who work on the boat, the merchants, the merchant marines, or whatever the hell they are, they definitely load the boat. And when they get the last one on, again, this being silent, we don't know.
Yeah.
But I can promise you what happened is the last guy puts the last coffin down, and he is like, what the fuck makes them so heavy? And kicks the lid off.
Yeah.
And they see dirt and rats.
And then they start flipping out about the rats.
Well, and they show you like these rats. I love seeing all these animal scenes because I'd love to know how they shot them back then. Where they show the rats climbing up out of the boat.
Yeah.
It was so cool seeing. Yeah, so at this point, though, the boat ride just gets progressively crazier. You know, like we see the captain and his first mate, and they tell us that there's one man at first who sees
something.
Or he feels. They say he's got the plague.
Yeah.
He definitely has an encounter with.
Yeah, because in the background you see
come up,
come up and then fade away, which is really cool.
So he's definitely had an encounter with a vampire,
and he just slowly, systematically kills off the entire crew.
Well, we just see that it's just this guy, right? And we see the whole thing from beginning to end with this guy. We see that they end up having to throw him overboard.
Yeah, they bury him at sea, the poor bastard.
And then we find out that it's half the crew are better, right?
Yeah.
Had this happen until it's basically just the captain and the first mate, right?
Yeah.
And the first mate's like, I've had enough.
I'm going to go find out what's in those boxes
and take care of it.
And he goes down with the hatchet and he starts hacking it, and then all the rats start coming out on him.
And
then the cool shot of Nosferatu just
sitting up out of the
Undertaker casket style, just up out of the casket.
And so the first mate runs out, jumps overboard. Captain's like, what?
What the fuck?
And at this point, I swear, I feel like the captain has just been like oblivious to what people have been saying.
Right.
All the way through his first mate jumping overboard. Because at this point, he starts doing the thing that you do when it's bad weather coming. Yeah. Like he thought his first mate jumped off overboard because he thought a storm was coming.
Something. I don't know.
Because he starts tying himself to like you do when there's a bad storm.
Tied himself to the wheel.
Which was the dumbest thing.
Yeah, it was, because now you can't run, you idiot.
And that's exactly the moment we get. Like as soon as he finishes tying himself,
Nosferatu comes up
on deck of the boat, and he looks and he's like,
I fucked up. Man. I'm dead.
All right, it's one of those.
Yeah,
it's one of those, eh?
And then I guess through vampire magic, he controls the boat and it keeps going. And they get all the way to Bremen. And doesn't Knock see him? He's like he gets arrested because he's gone crazy.
Well, Knock, I was going to say, again, we'll jump back to everything that's happened in Bremen. Do you feel a need to jump back and forth to the boat?
No.
We just covered all the boat in 30 seconds.
No.
There was no reason to jump back and forth to it. People understand that the boat ride was the boat ride.
Yeah.
We're good. So now we're just going to jump back to everything that was happening in Bremen. So we just finished with the boat. That's it. That's everything. Those scenes are cut throughout, but that was just the boat ride.
Yeah, that's everything that happens on the boat.
That's all of the excitement on the boat ride. So now we'll cover what happened in Bremen.
Then we meet the professor.
Yes, that's exactly it.
It cuts over to the professor, and he's giving the lecture on Venus flytraps, and he calls it the vampire of the vegetable kingdom,
or something like that. Yeah, he definitely makes a comment
about it being a vampire,
or just that about how it's like a cannibal of or something. He makes a point about how it is definitely feeding to sustain itself off of other living things.
Yeah,
but he also brings out another thing that does the same.
Weird little parasite.
That is all. It can also make itself almost invisible.
Yeah.
To do it right.
Almost invisible, as though it were a phantom.
Yes, exactly. Because we have to bring it all back.
I don't know why I keep giving them voices. Because they're just title cards.
That's how it is. Well, I mean, that's more. That's more of why you're giving them.
Do
voices.
people not voice act things when they watch stuff in their head?
Well, it's the same thing with people who don't have an inner monologue. Some people don't. Some people do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you didn't know that? Some people live their life with no inner monologue.
How horrible.
I agree, because I have one. And when I heard that information, I was like,
I can't even imagine that. So there's just nothing.
Yeah.
Just your head is blank.
Those people also, when they read, don't hear the words in their head.
How do they read?
I don't know. I agree.
I have to hear the words in my head, or I don't understand.
That's also why me and you can't be speed readers.
Probably.
Like, no, the actual process of speed reading.
I read real slow.
It is for people who they can process without having to do that.
No, I have to give everybody voices and personality.
Again, I'm with you, man. When I found all this out, I was like, what? Shocking.
After we meet the professor and his carnivorous plants and protozoas and things, we get a little title card, pops up, says Nosferatu takes possession of Knock from afar.
Which is weird, because we already knew this.
Yeah, we already knew that from the letter earlier. But he gets locked up, thrown in the loony bin.
Well, because we see him. He goes around town being a little
weird.
Being kind of crazy.
And then when they lock him up, he's just like, blood, I need blood.
And again, I'm pretty sure he ate a fly in this scene.
I'm
not positive. I'm pretty sure.
I believe
because it's right after, because it makes sense. Yeah. But then they do.
He tries to strangle the doctor when he's in there.
Yeah, but so again, once that happens is when he looks up and sees the spider
web.
And you're really supposed to be like, he's like,
I'm the spider.
He's feeding from things.
Yeah. And then we cut over to Ellen at the beach. Yeah. In her black dress again.
And she's now reading the letter.
Yeah, the Harding and what's her name?
Annie.
Annie. They show up with it. And we only get the part where it says he has bad dreams in the letter.
But we know that she's reading all of it.
She read the whole thing.
Again, like I said.
Because she kind of flips out and runs off.
Well, because like I said, she knew.
She knew. She saw it when she had her little weird hypnosis dream.
Well, not even that, man. I'm telling you, she knew.
From the beginning.
Are we having the same conversation again? I'm saying she knew about vampire stuff in Transylvania. And so when she read the letter, she was like, I was right.
Yeah. From the beginning.
I don't think any of it has to do with the vision.
My bad. I forgot you said that in the beginning.
It's okay. I think the vision, we don't even know she has a vision. We just know she sleptwalked and screamed. They never actually tell us she had a vision. We assume
she did.
Because the scream happened at the same time.
Yeah, but then we just get, after that, it's just a bunch of cut back and forth scenes of the ship and Tom racing back and forth, and they get there at about the same time.
Yeah, so you heard us. We wrapped up the boat.
Yeah, the boat.
Just know that Tom did
dick. He just rides a horse for a few scenes.
No excitement happened.
No, nothing.
To him.
It was a boring trip for him, apparently.
But he rides into town about the same time the boat got into town. And when the boat got into town, poor Knock is still locked up in prison, but he could feel it.
Yeah, he stole a newspaper and he was reading that there's a new plague in town, and
he could sense it. As soon as he said, "Master's here," and climb. Remember, he looked out the window right when the boat rolled into harbor. So regardless of the newspaper, he just felt it. He knew that he was there.
But then the ship gets docked up, and
again, this is where it gets kind of weird.
Orloff just kind of leaves. He just kind of walks off the boat with carrying his coffin, and
it's awkward.
He kind of stops and looks around like, all right, now where the fuck do I go?
It's
this way.
It's very strange. He sets his coffins up, and at this point, again, it's another one of those, we jump and we don't know exactly how much time goes by.
No.
But we get to see that lots of people in Bremen are dying.
Oh yeah, everywhere. There's a cool shot of just like Ellen's looking out the window, and there's just a procession of people
non-stop caskets,
coffins just being took off to the graveyard, and no one knows why, but we do.
Yeah, and then so finally she decides she's going to read this vampire book.
Even though she said she wasn't going to.
Well, she made a promise because Thomas asked her not to. Now, is that supposed to be an implication of him being under control of Orlok Nosferatu? Because why would he tell her not to read that book? He ran back there because he was afraid it was true. Shouldn't he be like, read this book, see if you can help me figure out a way to stop this? No, he was like, don't. Is that maybe some kind of control?
I think it might be. Where he's just like, no, you don't need to know about the books. My master.
Right? She, though, finally does read the book. And when she reads the book, she gets to a line that says, the only way to kill, or to stop, it doesn't even say kill,
to break the curse.
Yeah. Is for a pure-hearted woman to offer herself to him.
And keep him there until the cock crows.
And stay with him until the cock crows. So until morning.
Yeah, cock is a rooster, you dirty bastards.
Now, this is the part I want to get at. The movie plays it out. Again, we're not giving anything away. This next part just plays out super fast. She fakes to the doctor.
Yeah, she fakes a seizure or something, tells Thomas, go get the professor, and he leaves. And
so that way he won't be there to stop her.
Won't be there to stop her from what's going to happen.
Because she summons...
Yeah, she basically
Nosferatu.
calls Nosferatu over because he's over in the house across the way, looking through the window.
Now,
all creepy.
Here's my thing: did this version of a vampire have to be killed by sacrifice? Because again, she does. We're not giving away. She sacrifices.
She
herself.
dies. She's the hero.
Or was it just the daylight?
I think it had to be both. Like he enjoyed drinking the pure blood so much
he lost track
of time.
I get that, but could they have made him lose track of time some other way?
I don't know. She doesn't die the other way, I guess. We had to kill her. I want her dead. No,
I understand. It's drama. It gets more dramatic.
What's the director's name? Wernow. He's in the background.
Yeah.
He's like, I want her dead. I want her dead. She must die.
So I mean, I get it. I understand, but I was just It's one of those things where it's like, did she have to die?
No, probably not, but...
We already jumped ahead a little bit to say, but yeah.
Yeah, because it goes really fast.
It goes really fast.
Yeah.
She read the thing, she tricks Thomas...
into leaving.
And then she summons him. And I mean, again...
he's over there quick.
As fast as we're telling you, it might be... That whole thing that we just told you might play out in 5 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
It plays out really quick. Because we are, again, it's an hour...
It's an hour and 6 minute movie, and 6 minutes of it is David Carradine, so it's really only an hour.
And we are roughly at the end of this, guys.
Yeah.
So she tricks him, and he seems like the dumbest movie monster ever at this point.
He does.
Because he literally loses track of time.
The rooster crows, and he looks up from Viger, and he's just like, oh, fuck.
And he just like kind of just like...
looks around like, I fucked up.
I guess I'll just stand in the corner and let what happens happen. Right? That's how it plays out. Like, he's just like, I'll just kind of...
I like the pose he made when he died. He's just kind of just like,
Yeah. He just is like, I'll see myself back here.
Yeah.
Y'all don't have to worry about me no more.
But then Thomas and the doctor show up after Nosferatu poofs into smoke. And she
yells Thomas.
She gets to yell out for him one last time.
And he shows up and he grabs her.
And she dies. And it's very sad. But she's the real hero.
She's a true sacrifice.
I lift my glass to Ellen, savior of Bremen.
She is the reason why Bremen is okay.
Because as soon as Nosferatu dies, like, the plague stops.
Yeah, because, again, there was never a plague.
No, it was just supernatural.
Just him feeding people on people, yeah. Now, here's the other... This is one of those things where I wanted to dissect a little bit with you real quick before we actually end.
If I'm not too drunk, I'll try my best.
Because we're done with the movie.
But I drink all of this.
In this version of a vampire, can't say Dracula because it's not... It's not
technically Dracula.
Again, they didn't want to get copyright sued. I'm going to make sure no one wants to try to copyright sue them today.
Yep.
They did not write a Dracula story.
No. This is a completely separate vampire.
It's a generic other count from Transylvania who happens to be a vampire.
His name's Orlok.
Yes.
It's completely different.
But so now, like, in the stories of, like, Dracula or most vampires, right? Like, they would have been... That should have been weak, and we saw he was kind of weak in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But then the more you feed, the more power you get, right?
Yeah.
How many people did he just kill in Bremen? How powerful should he have been?
I mean, just from that one shot of the procession, there's at least 7 caskets in that shot.
So again, like...
and then the scene of the dude going around marking X's on the doors, so that implies those people are all dead. So that's like another like 6-7 people.
So you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if this were like a Dracula,
the whole crew of the Demeter.
If this were a Dracula story, he would have been nigh unstoppable.
God level power
right?
at this point.
But this is a very different one. Obviously,
yeah.
He just stays alive.
It just stays alive. It
doesn't change his powers.
Lapse
or
into
power
a
level
coma or whatever.
Yeah. I just wanted to cover that with you before we got before we wrapped up everything. All right, guys, we have covered the whole movie. I covered a couple extra talking points that I wanted to see Bo's opinion on. I gotta say, again, one of my favorite versions of this movie.
Yeah, no, I really liked this version of this movie because I liked this movie beforehand, but the music made this really freaking cool. You know what I mean? There's one song in particular where it's like a bunch of like cool chanting and stuff, like right when he first gets to the castle. Like that was my favorite part and stuff. All this, and he's like, the door opens and he first sees the count, and it's just like,
again, right? Because Peter Steele has that kind of voice,
right?
He's a deep,
it's almost like
booming,
a Viking chant.
Yeah, he's got it. But so again, guys, definitely we can't suggest enough to you that you watch this version of the movie. Like, it's definitely a whole experience. Maybe even try it with this beer.
Ooh, yeah, no, I liked this one.
This Nosferatu Imperial Red Ale from Great Lakes Brewing Company. They definitely know what they're doing.
Yeah, they do.
I didn't know what to expect with a red IPA.
I didn't either. This is my favorite IPA we've had so far.
I love reds.
Me too.
Like, Killian's or, like an Irish red.
Yeah, I'm not usually a fan of IPAs.
And I'm not going to try to pretend like I know beer. So I have no idea if this type of red has anything to do with that type of red. I do know that flavor-wise, I feel right now like they do.
Yeah, it was really good.
Well, hit us with what we're going to drink next time, man. For our clue to everybody for our wrap-up movie. We're going to be doing our last one for October.
For our clue for next week, we're going to be doing Left Hand Brewing Company's Milk Stout.
All right, guys.
What could we be doing with a Milk Stout on Halloween?
I don't know.
I don't either. Somebody guess. Make a good guess.
All right.
I believe in you.
I think you guys can get there.
Yeah, you can do it.
All right. Well, I think that's it, man. I think we're done.
Yeah, me too, man. Oh, shit. We've been saying Nosferatu this whole time. He's going to get us. Well, he was in an episode of SpongeBob.